Hi, my name is Dr. Daniel Fox. I'm a licensed psychologist in the state of Texas and an expert in the area of personality disorders. And today, in this video, I wanted to talk about borderline personality disorder and what to do next after you receive the diagnosis. Now, being diagnosed with borderline personality disorder can be a scary thing for many individuals. But for some, it does provide some clarity and a framework to understand your thoughts, feelings, and actions about you and the world around you. So this video is designed to help you with those steps after you found out that you've been diagnosed or been given a borderline personality disorder diagnosis. Now, my goal of this video is to sort of clarify some of the misconceptions that a BPD diagnosis is that you are sentenced to a life of rejection, loss, abandonment, fear, further personal and external torment. BPD is the most successfully treated personality disorder, and there's no reason to believe that you cannot learn the skills that have helped thousands and thousands of others get control of their borderline personality disorder and live different lives, live very fulfilling, happy, love-filled lives. So the very first thing, before we get into the steps, the thing that I want to talk about is that I think it is important to remember that a diagnosis should be given by a qualified provider. Now, you may get online and you may find all this stuff on the internet, but you need to be aware of what's on the internet. Because even if you go through it, and I know that we can find criteria out there, and you go through that criteria and you're like, oh, that's me, oh, that's me, oh, that's me, that doesn't necessarily mean that you would qualify for borderline personality disorder, because there's other facets, there's other things to include. They're not just check boxes, they're not categorical pigeonholes that we can put people in and just start checking stuff off. That's not what providing a diagnosis is. What we do as mental health providers, we look at these different criteria, see the level of impact, and if they cause what's called socioeconomic dysfunction, which means that it impairs your social interaction, your personal interaction, your ability to go to school, go to work, have successful relationships, good relationship with your kids, good relationships with your significant others, things like that. So are these different criteria impacting that? And if so, in what ways and how detrimental? So it's not just checking off boxes and saying, yep, I got it, yep, I got it, yep, I got it. There's a lot more to that. So you just want to be careful. If you go online, and a lot of people write me and say this, that they went online and they're like, oh, I read the criteria for borderline personality disorder and I know I have it, and it makes sense for me and it's providing some clarity, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good place to start. And hopefully that will encourage folks to go to a mental health provider or seek out mental health treatment so that they can provide a greater degree of understanding. And that's what we're going to do here. I created a worksheet to help out as well as we go through these steps so that you can help build your level of understanding so that you can combat some of these symptoms. Because I know that a lot of folks in different parts of the world that are watching this video don't have easy access to mental health treatment. So how can you do some bibliotherapy, some self-help? There are some things that you can do, okay? So let's go through that. So here's this first step. Okay, now once you've been diagnosed, it is important to be hopeful that the condition is treatable, okay? And I kind of mentioned that before. This is the most successfully treated personality disorder that's out there. So you should feel good about that. You should feel like, okay, so there are effective treatments. And if you look at the comments, a lot of my other videos, you'll see that a lot of people have a lot of positive things to say about their experience with borderline personality disorder. They're not saying it's like a day at Disneyland or Disney World or anything like that, but what they're saying is that they were able to recognize their triggers, their core content, and that surface content expression, and that they were able to learn these strategies to manage it and do things differently and create a life for themselves that's very positive and very fulfilling, and able to engage in things from all the way, from people all throughout, some that are in their late teens, some that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. So it is possible. So it's remember, hang on to that hope. Don't listen to all the other garbage that's out there, that people with borderline personality disorder are this, that. I don't even want to reiterate some of that foolishness, because that is what's called old data. That's from 1970s data. 1970s data is the 1970s. We're not in the 1970s anymore. Welcome to 2019. It's different, okay? All right. So first things first, ask yourself, Okay, so let's say, right, you've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. You're trying to understand more about it. I want you to ask yourself, what aspects of BPD are most intrusive and hinder your functioning? Now, is it a real hindrance or a perceived hindrance? Now, we know that, and there's a video coming on what's called a Bpd Lens, that there is a tendency to distort how people with borderline personality disorder perceive emotions. I just did a video on that. How they perceive the world. I've done videos on that. How they perceive significant others. I've done a video on that. Because it's a common distortion that it gets distorted, and it's distorted out of a lot of core content features. So you have to ask yourself, so is this distortion or is this hindrance, is it real or perceived abandonment, unstable self-image, self-harm, chronic relationship failures or difficulties? Is it self-destructive behaviors, mood instabilities, etc.? What's driving that impairment? Okay, so it's important to recognize that. What's driving it? Not just that it's occurring, but what's driving it? What is underneath it? Okay, and so I've created a worksheet that can help you. The link is in the comments section here. Okay, so do your best as you go through, right? Download it, check it out. Okay, so as you go through it, do your best not to say yes, and you have to rank, so you're not going to be saying yes. You have to rank order the ones from the most hindering or impairing to the least. And what I want you to do is I want you to really try, and sometimes I know that it can be tricky, but I want you to rank order them. This one is the most significant. So it's going to take some time for you to figure it out, and that's okay. It's just not a timed test. You can take your time. And that's important. Take some time and think about it. Which one is the most interfering? Which is the one causing me the most problems? And look at that. Okay. Also in the worksheet, and you can't rank them all number one. Okay. Try not to do, say, well, they're all like that. That's what your borderline personality disorder wants you to believe, that you're so broken and so impaired that it's not just one, it's all of them. So why bother to try? Please don't fall into that. Don't fall into that, because if you look hard enough, and if you have someone that you trust, like a mental health provider, you can go through and explore these things with them so that you can build your level of insight and understanding about your borderline personality disorder. And that's important to do that. And even if it's traits, even if you don't have the full disorder, which is traits, which most people just have traits. And so if it's traits, still it's important to go through the worksheet, identify what that is, what those the most and least, kind of rank ordering all of those most and least hindering factors, so you can build that level of insight, build that level of understanding what the surface structure is, those expressive behaviors, and doing things differently. Okay, so rank order them, be as patient as you can. Okay? Once you've done that, I want you to find coping mechanisms to help you manage these feelings and behaviors. Okay? So if it's abandonment issues, okay, so start asking your mental health provider, or even if you have to look up coping strategies, please make sure that if you look up like coping strategies, it's from folks that are mental health providers, not just folks that are just writing stuff up or things like that. Or if you're watching this video, if you have coping strategies that helped you with abandonment, self-destructive behaviors, drinking, gambling, promiscuity, things like that, chronic abandonment feelings, senses of loss, of emptiness, things like that. If there's coping strategies that you have, put them in the comments section or where you found those, and that might help other people that are struggling too. That's the great thing about the internet. The internet's not all bad, right? I mean, I think it's a pretty amazing thing, but there can be some positive resources out there. And if somebody's already vetted that and they find it helpful for them, let's use this community that's kind of developed for those who subscribe to my page and stuff, that they can find it, and that they can use those strategies to help them. And that's awesome. That's awesome. That's what we should be doing, helping each other. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to find those coping mechanisms and manage these feelings and behaviors. Now the fourth step, and you'll see on the bottom of that worksheet, okay, I want to ask yourself, what are the things that are driving all of those rank ordered stuff that you put on there? So the rank ordered stuff is surface structure behavior, okay? And that's the expression. But the rank order underneath the explanation of what's driving it, that's core structure. That stuff's harder to get to. Trying to get to that stuff is where the confusion can come in. A lot of defense mechanisms can get kicked up, such as rage, abandonment, fear, denial, regression, repression, other types of things as well. So we have to be aware of that. Be aware of that as well. And again, you don't have to rush yourself. Take your time and take it easy, and just try to figure out what drives me when I feel alone. it stems from this. When I have these sensations of abandonment, it stems from this. And go there and try to identify what that is. That's your core content. Addressing your core content helps folks have a more stable change and management of borderline personality disorder. That's why it's hard to get to, but it's also why when it does change and you do have control over it, you can do things differently. Okay? And then the final step is you explore these core content areas, learn about them, manage them. This is where that mental health provider can come in and really help you with some additional strategies, building greater insight, greater understanding. And you want to put there are some slots at the end of the worksheet that can kind of help you do this, okay? But it's important to remember that the greatest tool for managing borderline personality disorder is learning about it, is using skills to control it, right? And it is possible. It's not always easy, but it is possible to manage these surface structure behaviors. It is possible to build insight into that core content and to do things differently. And it is my sincere hope that this has helped you. And if this is for a loved one, someone who trusts you and who you care about, you can do the worksheet with them. Some people write me and say, my son or daughter has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. What do I do next? And they're overwhelmed, and they get online and they hear all these horrible things, and that is 1970 stuff, and so it's time that we all get up to date. But you can do this with a significant other too, and that's great because it gives them that sense of support, and support is so important. Okay, so I really hope that you enjoy this. I have getting over a little bit of a cold, so bear with me. If you enjoyed this video, please check out some of my others, and I hope this is helpful for you. And you guys give me great suggestions for future videos. This one actually came from a suggestion, so that's awesome. If you'd like this one, again, please check out my other videos. I keep saying it, but subscribe if you're interested. That's great, and leave a comment that maybe can help somebody else. And thank you all very much, and have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.